Welcome, welcome, welcome. It's been a bit since I've done a live stream. How weird is that? Hasn't been that long, but you know. Welcome. My name is Jessie here with Attract and Amplify. So glad that you guys could make it. I'm going to talk about owning your own marketing within your business. And I'm just going to start reeling off the top 20 in house marketing questions that I get asked all the time, that a lot of you might be getting asked all the time. And I'm answering them. So you may or may not like my answers. How's that? If you have a specific question that you'd like answered, put it in the chat. You know what I'm also going to do is I am going to find my link. Also available to you is an opportunity to work with me one-on-one with, well, one on many if you want me to work with your group and or your team, and we'll do it that way. But that invite is there if you'd like it. Otherwise, let's get on to answering the questions. So let me pull up the questions that I get, and that way I can kind of reel from the top there. First one, should I hire a marketing agency or build an in-house team? Well, here you go. I'm all for building an in-house team. And the reason I say that is that you know your team or you know your business better than anybody else. So why wouldn't you want to market your team? You know, why wouldn't you want to be your own voice, be your brand? And, you know, most likely you are your brand, and you're going to do a better job of speaking on behalf of your brand than somebody else. Sound fair? I mean, it really is. When you know your business, you know your own people, and that's something that an agency, they'll never fully have. Now, I've worked with a number of agencies, and it's always so frustrating because every time I work with an agency, I end up having to do more work than expected. And the reason I say that, and you know, and I'm not being light about that at all, or not trying to be at least, because it is what happens. You end up having to do the majority of the work that you are hiring an agency to do. So you're creating all of the creatives, you know, all the visuals, you're creating all of those, or at least it's so involved in the creation of them because you're constantly tweaking them in order for them to fit in your brand just right. Even if you're giving them a whole brand guideline, it takes them a while to get a good feel for it. And they're working with so many different brands that they're either doing like a copy and paste, more of a template style, and not really honing in on your message and your brand. That's why it's so frustrating. They rely so much on that copy and paste template, and instead of getting to know you better. And they charge astronomical rates for creatives. And when I say creatives, I'm talking about maybe the video that's representing your ad, or the image. It could be the text, it could be a combination of all of it. Anything that's supposed to be representing your company, that the visuals, that's the creatives. But you end up doing most of the work and feeding them the information constantly over and over, even though you've given them the brand guidelines. And I'm telling you this based off of experience because I have had this happen to me a number of times. And the result is, you know, they're lifeless. It's a poor representation, and it's oftentimes something from overseas. You know, like, I mean, you can tell that it's completely misplaced. And now with AI, it even gives it even more of a faceless, lifeless being. And don't get me wrong, AI has its place. There are some great ways to use artificial intelligence, whether it's through the workflow or maybe even in some of the creations, but you still need to have a great grasp of it. And that's why an in-house team, even if it's just a team of one person, can do such a good job for the business because they know the business. They know the customer. They can speak to both the customer and about the business authentically. Yeah, so that's why it's very beneficial. All right, we're only going to get through a couple of these questions right away, and we'll dive deeper into them probably tomorrow. But another question I get is, how much does it cost to build an in-house marketing team? When I built the in-house marketing team, it was of my own. It was a lot of investment as far as in my personal growth and just learning the skills, but it was more time than anything. And so the flat answer is it depends. It depends on what you're building and how many levels you're going to build. But in the honest reality, you can build it at a fair, inexpensive price tag than you can if you're going through an agency. Plus, you're going to own the asset, and that is probably one of the biggest benefits of all of it. It's far cheaper than paying an agency, and you're learning a skill, or you're having a team member learn a skill that they can use over and over. So it's such a true investment of yourself. So instead of paying $15,000 a month in agency fees alone, which that is not an exaggeration, that is actually a low ball compared to what most of you guys are probably paying. And that's not even counting your ad budget. That is just the agency fees alone. So yeah, it doesn't, I mean, you can learn this at as far as $0 per month. You can build at $0, but just know that it's going to take a lot of time. And in order to take away that very slow learning curve, which it is, we try to speed past that. And that's where having someone work, like myself or somebody else, work with you one-on-one can just, get you from 0 to 100% really quick, instead of having that slow learning curve, right? But either way, if you're learning it on your own or you're working with another one, you're still building an asset that you own, instead of having to constantly pay in an agency, because paying in an agency isn't necessarily an investment, but investing your money or putting your money into a skill for a team member or for yourself, it is, because you'll be able to use that over and over. So build the system first, and then you can hire to manage it, or you can manage it, or you can use somebody within already. There we go. Who would I hire first for my marketing team? You hire the system builder first. So if you have somebody who can build the system, and when I'm talking system, I'm talking the lead generating system, you hire that person first. Then you can hire somebody to manage it afterwards. But if you're hiring someone to build it, that person can later manage it as well. But if you're hiring a manager, then you're hiring that manager to also work with the builder, and that's why we do it the other way around. Can you market it yourself instead of hiring someone? Yeah. And honestly, nobody's going to market your business better than you anyway, right? It's your baby. But if you have somebody who really believes in your product or service, who is also willing to learn a new skill, then I would utilize that. The two of you can learn the process together, and then you can step back. You still understand the process, you still know it, but you have somebody who can lead it, manage it on a day-to-day. Yeah, that way you're not having to wear all of the hats all of the time, but you're still investing within the marketing. Can AI tools replace my need for a marketing team agency? AI tools can definitely help with taking over responsibilities of the marketing team. But overall, as far as replacing it, you don't want to take the human aspect completely out of it. You don't. They are a significant portion of the marketing, of the voice of the individual, right? Now you can have Claude or ChatGPT or Nano Banana or, video tools, a Higgersfield. There's so many different AI tools out there for image and video animations and things like that. There's hundreds of them that'll help you create faster, even, go further with it to simplify the work. But the messaging itself, you still want someone involved in that to make sure that it is a good representation of your business. Someone who still manages all of that. Yeah. So you could, I mean, in reality, you could take a team from 10 down to 2 or 3, or even 1, depending on to what extent you want that marketing to reach. What all do you want? But yeah, AI can't completely replace these individuals. They can help with the process. You can, let me rephrase that. You can replace them, but that doesn't mean that it's going to do as good of a job. I suggest using these tools to enhance your individual employees and their abilities, bring additional value to their skills, but I wouldn't replace them fully, because they speak and they give the passion behind the brand. There you go. When's the right time to bring in marketing in-house? If you can, do it right away. Do it right away. Even if you have a little bit living within an agency, you can start building your in-house marketing at the same time. That would be ideal, because then you're not just, coming up cold, dead, existence to all of a sudden now you've got this in-house marketing and you're frustrated and you're like, oh, I should have had leads coming in. If you've got an agency right now, let that work in the background while you're building your in-house. If you don't have either, let's do that in-house properly. Let's set up a system. There you go. And start building the in-house one properly. Okay. What does an in-house marketing team actually do day to day? Oh man, they build it. They manage it. They keep it growing. They continually create more content. They're writing scripts. They're building email sequences. They're managing social media platforms. They're running paid ads. They're setting up automations. They're tracking results. They're following up on leads. There's so much that they can do, that in-house marketing team. And that's why I say, yes, build the system, because you want it to flow smoothly, right? But in the same sense, you want that human involved, but you have all these AI tools that can help streamline it for you. You own it, so you don't have to repeat this whole headache every time, right? That's what I was seeing when we were switching agencies. It was miserable. And none of them helped us to the way we needed it. We are so much better in-house. Okay, should I hire one marketer or build a full team? Build the system first. Then you can think about, okay, do I need a separate team for my YouTube? Do I need a separate team for my Instagram? Do I need, a blog team? Do I need a product, product marketing? You want to build the system first, so you have a good understanding, and then you can decide if you want to double down on specific aspects of the marketing, then you can bring additional team members on. But building it is the most important part. How do I know if a marketing team is ripping me off? Well, just kidding. No, is it worth it? That's what you need to determine. If it's worth it. So most agencies, they're not trying to screw you, but that doesn't mean that their ROI is legit. Half the time they are providing you so many cushioned reports that you don't even know what you're reading. You don't even know what that means. They don't even know what that means, or if it's relevant. What you need to know is, do you own the asset? Do you own the landing pages? Do you own the ad accounts? Do you own the email lists or the lead list, the content? Do you own that? So if you stopped working with that agency, are you starting from scratch, or are you starting where you left off? Because if you're starting where you left off, then that's not a bad investment. That it was, in fact, an investment where you can grow from. But if you are having to start from scratch and now do a lead page, now create a website, even though you had those back in the day, but you had them through an agency, then yeah, it probably wasn't worth it. But now you're learning from it, and now you're moving forward. What marketing budget should I set as a percentage of the revenue? Well, for growth mode, you want to aim for 10 to 20% of revenue, and that's being reinvested into your marketing. But if you are seeing any ROI and your crew can handle that, right? Your business can handle the growth. Why would you not just continue to pump it into it? Bump it up to 50, 60. If you can actually fulfill it. Now, if you don't have the manpower to fulfill it, if you're a service-based business, say you're a plumber, and you don't have if you're a plumbing business, there you go, and you don't have enough plumbers to fulfill all of the lead generation, then you should not be investing that much into your growth. You need to, or at least not into the marketing growth. You need to pull some of that back and invest more into the recruiting and the training and getting your manpower up before you invest into additional marketing. So start at 5 to 10% when you're first getting started. You want to get a base here. And then as a result, once your system is in place, and that's the important part, you've got your lead generating system. Once your system is in place, then you grow it. And part of that system is being able to fulfill it with in that last example, your plumbers, your individual contractors. All right. If you're seeing a positive ROI and your follow-up system is clean, then you just keep pumping into it, double down. But the key is if you don't have the system in place to handle the leads, then don't spend more money on marketing. You got to fix the system first. That's why I say build the system first. That way more leads. Well, I guess if, the thing is with more leads, if the follow-up system is chaotic, then that it doesn't do you any good. You're just wasting money on leads in that instance. What about a hybrid model? In-house plus agency? It's not a bad idea as long as the in-house side is in control. If you're running paid ads and you want agency support, that can definitely work, but only if your in-house team is making the creatives, approving the messaging, managing the follow-up system. But again, that's where I'm saying you do so much of that. Why are you investing in an agency? But it all depends on if that agency is only running the ads for you. And if if their markup isn't high, is it a good investment for you? Are they so good at what they're doing that you're seeing an ROI on it because you own all these other assets? Then yeah, use an agency to execute. Just don't let them own the strategy itself. Another question I get, number 12. How do I measure my marketing team's ROI? Are you making more money? There you go. You're measuring it. Yeah. What do you pay your team per month? What are you bringing in? If you're bringing in more than you're spending, then you're doing great, right? Double down on it. If you can clean up areas, awesome. If you're seeing an area that's bleeding, then stop it. But if you are bringing in more than you are spending in your marketing, if your leads are bringing in more, then you're sitting pretty. Should I hire a fractional CMO or a full-time marketing hire? Hire the person who builds it. Hire them. I don't care what you call them. Marketing manager, CFO, content strategist. I mean, it depends. Are they going to build it for you? Because you want that asset. And then let them manage it. You want them to think like a CMO, but you want them to build like the marketer, like, the creator. Create the system, produce the content, grow the business, all of that. How long until I see results in the in-house marketing? With paid marketing, you can see results a lot quicker. You can also go in the hole quicker. You can come out of the hole quicker as well. So sometimes it's within days of the system being ready. Sometimes it takes longer, but for the full momentum, 3 to 6 months investment is pretty standard within the industry. It compounds month over month, but you have to keep an eye on if you're doing paid marketing, you have to keep an eye on what your expense is. How much are you paying per lead? Because you might see that it starts to grow, and then you need to change things up, change some of those creatives. What tools and software does an in-house marketing team need? You need a CRM. You absolutely need a CRM to track that. And that's it, especially one that does automations, follow-ups. A good one, depending, of course, on the industry that you have, but a good one could be Go High Level. It is kind of like an all-in-one platform where it does the lead sources, it can do the landing pages, the blogs, some of the automations, the workflow automations, the emails, all in one place, and it's so nice to have. It's not for everybody because there's other ways to create your workflows out there. But beyond that, AI tools for content creation. You've got Claude, you've got ChatGPT, which good and bad. You want to invest some time into making them brand specific, on brand. For video tools or image tools, you've got Nano Banana, Adobe. Adobe is one of my favorites for imaging tools. Firefly, social scheduling, Higgsfield, those are all good. Solid payment processor. Treasury State Payments is a good option for you. That is one of mine. I partner with Deposits for the payment processing. So Treasury State Payments and Deposits is my partnership there. Love them. We do a great job of taking care of our online and our local providers, our local service providers. So specific stack depends on whether it's a service business, if it's a e-com business, digital product seller, retailer, all of that kind of stuff. The goal is a connected system that works together, not just a pile of disconnected tools that make it even more of a headache for an individual. They need to streamline it for you. How do I transition from an in-house or from an agency to an in-house without losing momentum? Start with the follow-up system. You start on the back. This is what you want in the end, right? You start here and you work your way back. Before you cut that agency loose, by the way. Don't cut them loose until you have that. If they're bringing in leads. And if they're bringing in leads, then put a bandage on that sucker. Do I need a marketing manager or a marketing specialist? Start with a strategist. Someone who can see the full picture and then build it. Mm-hmm. How do I manage a marketer when I don't understand marketing myself? Well, first you need to educate yourself. You need to know who your customer is and what problem you solve. So that's the first part. That's the biggest part of marketing. You don't need to know how to run the ads. You need to know your business. And the right marketer shouldn't need to be micromanaged. You don't need to hire someone that needs to be micromanaged. Actually, that's the worst thing you could do to them because their knowledge base, you're stifling, you're not going to allow them to get you the results that you're asking for if you're micromanaging them because you don't know what they know. Trust them. Let them stick to a strategy instead of bouncing all over the place. One of the most frustrating things is to have a CFO or COO or CEO come in and be like, we should try this after you have created this elaborate, very strategic plan. You've got this strategy and then they're coming in and saying, we should try this. I could just feel my facial expression turn into sourness because they just want to try what everybody else is doing, but they're not taking into account whether or not it will work for them or what their customer is going to look at. They don't always do that. And where the marketer, they've already done that deep dive. They've had that quiet time to look it over, to review it, and they need to be consistent with that. Now, it doesn't mean that you can't try other things, but don't just bounce around and bounce out of it. Done that, been there, done that, failed at it. So, is it better to hire a freelance marketer or a full-time employee? Full-time if you can. There are certain aspects that you can do with a freelancer, which are fantastic. They can make the creatives for you, but you'll be working hand in hand with them. So if you have somebody in-house who doesn't have the design skills but knows what they need, then you can hire that freelancer. But make sure you have somebody in-house that really knows the messaging well, because you want to own these pieces. So if you're doing a freelancer, you're basically purchasing that service from them, and you're coming back, you're owning whatever they create. So it's fine as long as you have somebody who sees the full picture, the full strategy, right? The full plan, and then you're bringing pieces of it together. You still have someone managing it in-house. What are the biggest mistakes companies make when building an in-house team? They start running ads and creating content without a system in place. So they're starting to bring in lads. They're so excited. This is awesome. I've got people coming in. I'm getting calls. And then you have nobody to fulfill them. That is the most frustrating, chaotic waste of money, because you've got all these leads, but you're losing them. So then your reputation is going bad because, hey, you're not following up on them. Because like you look up the first 3 people on Google, you start calling. If you call one of them and they do not return a call, you have a sour taste in your mouth about them, right? Heck yeah, I'm judging it. These guys never called me back, right? They didn't have a follow-up. That's not what you want. You want, if you're going to make that investment into marketing, you want to make sure that you can follow up on it. So build the system first, create the strategy, then execute. If you want help on that, take a look at attractandamplify.com. Reach out to me. Let's schedule a time for a consultation. We'll talk it over. We'll see if it's a good fit for you. See if we can't help build your system, in-house system for you. Sound good? Let's do it.